Hey Chicago fans, welcome into Sports Freaks Podcast. I'm your host Patrick Cummings, and in today's video we're going to be evaluating the Chicago White Sox 2025 MLB season. We're discussing the first half of what they've played thus far. Let's get into our topics of the day. We will begin by recapping the first half of the White Sox have had. Then we will head into some of the notable players that have caught some of the eyes of White Sox fans and scouts around the league. And then our last topic of the day is what record will the White Sox finish with to end the 2025 MLB season. So let's dive into it. So the White Sox so far this year are right now we're at the All-Star break. They have a record of 32-65. That is last in their division. That is second worst in the MLB. That is in front of the Rockies. Rockies have the worst record in baseball. So the White Sox, I think, if I'm looking at this record, 32-65. That's bad, right? But let's go into some of the other stats that have shown around the league. And these are all the offensive rankings for the White Sox. White Sox have the worst batting average in the MLB. They have a 220. Runs scored, White Sox are third to last with 327 scored. Home runs, the White Sox are also third to last with 74. On base percentage, the White Sox are second worst with 295. Slugging percentage, White Sox are second worst again, 342. Stolen bases. White Sox have actually done pretty decent with stolen bases. They're middle of the road. They're 19th in the league. They have 61. But those are all the offensive rankings thus far. Now, some of the pitching hasn't been too bad, at least starting wise. I mean, the pitching's actually been at least somewhat fun to watch in a way. I think what's the most notable one is pitcher Shane Smith. Who is going to be an All-Star, who is going to be playing in the All-Star game this year. But he's played some darn good baseball for the White Sox. Recently, he has been struggling, but he has an ERA of 4.26. I feel like that should hopefully dip down. Shane Smith, who is 25 years old, so he's still young. He still has a lot of time to grow. I like what the White Sox have here. Sean Burke is their best pitcher or best starting pitcher, who has a 4.36 ERA. Obviously, with Jonathan Cannon, 4.44. Mike Vasso is now getting into the bullpen, 2.47. Now we go back to the White Sox as a team. I don't think, and this could be controversial to say, I don't think the White Sox as a team are that bad. If you actually watch each game, and yes, 32 wins, that's bad. That's really bad. You look at the offensive rankings, that's also bad. But if you look at this, the pitching is what actually has kept the White Sox in some of these games. The White Sox have the most losses when it comes to one run leads or one run games or games decided by one run, if I'm phrasing that correctly. So what that tells me is that the White Sox are competitive. And now I'm not sure if that's Will Venable, the White Sox head coach, playing a role in that. But I think, honestly, that this team has taken a step up in a way. Last year, you have 41 wins last year. That was the worst all time. But I think this team is, they're slowly trying to get better. They're obviously it's gonna take a long time. I'm not crediting the White Sox. I'm saying that I don't think, if we're looking at this team, I don't think they're as bad as we think they are. They're bad, right? This is a bad team, but I don't think they're as bad as the Rockies are. The Rockies are awful. Rockies are going to take our spot in terms of worst team all time. They have 22 wins or something like that. But let's get into some of the notable players for our second topic of the day. We'll head back to the offense, and there's a lot to kind of break down here. The White Sox have a lot of questions with what should they do with Luis Robert. Robert has really struggled this year. He's batting average of 190, on base percentage of 275, slugging 325, and on base percentage of 599. So, and Robert, a couple of years ago, was actually one of the lead leaders in home runs. So I will say this, though. I think if Luis Robert went to a better team, he would be a much better player. Andrew Benintendi, not a bad year. I mean, Benintendi, yes, he is batting a .233 batting average, on base percentage of .297, slugging .429, and an an OPS of .727, and a WAR .4. Benintendi defensively has taken a step down. He's not the same elite defender that we saw when the Red Sox won the World Series back when he was with Boston in 2018. But I think he's been a pretty consistent batter. Home runs he has 11. That is the team leader. So Benintendi has 11 home runs. He also leads the team in RBIs. Miguel Vargas, which I like Miguel Vargas, leads the team on base percentage. Lenyn Sosa has 77 hits. Now we're going to get into some of the young talent that the White Sox do have. Chase Maidrop, our shortstop. He's shown some flashes. He was at 300 at one point in his batting average, but now he's at 243. But I have a lot of hope for Chase Maidrop in the future. Maidrop we actually got in the Boston trade with Garrett Crochet, and Garrett Crochet's been lighting it up. The Red Sox are on a 10-game winning streak right now. Last time I checked. Andrew Vaughn they got rid of. They traded him to Milwaukee. Edgar Carroll. The Sox catchers have actually been really good this year. But looking at guys like Kyle Teal and Edgar Carroll came from the Lucas Giolito trade that happened about 2-3 years ago. And then we got Kyle Teal last offseason in that Garrett Crochet trade. But let's have Edgar Carroll, 269 batting average, 348 on base percentage, slugging of a 339, and then a OPS of 686. So I think Edgar Carroll, who's been a very consistent hitter and consistent catcher, he's been more of a consistent catcher than he has been of a hitter. But I really like this catching core of what the White Sox had. They did have Matt Thaiss, but I forgot where they traded him to, but they got rid of him. And they're rocking with Teal and Carroll. I love that. The White Sox are handling that pretty well. But yeah, that is some kind of what the notable players have been for the White Sox. Kyle Teal, 232 batting average, 372 on base percentage, 290 slugging, and where is he? Where'd he go? 290 slugging and 662 of OPS. So I think the White Sox, if looking at this core, it's got a bright future. Now listen, White Sox historically have not developed prospects in the way that we want them to. White Sox also did call up Coach Montgomery, who is hitting a 250 batting average. He has shown some flashes now. When he first got called up, he was playing against the worst team in baseball in the Colorado Rockies. So, yeah, you're going to play well against the worst team in baseball. Ever since then, he has struggled, but he's only a couple of games in. Let's give him some time. He was at one point our number one prospect, but that slowly died down ever since. But I think there's some hope for Coles Montgomery in the near future. But now we're going to head into the big question and our third and final topic of the day, and that is, what will the White Sox record what will they end with this season? Now, I don't know if you guys remember, but we had a video at the beginning of the season. We had a video about the White Sox and how many wins and how many losses they could have. I said 47 wins. Ryan said somewhere between 30. Right now they're 32. And Marcos said that they will get 45 wins. I'm starting to lead towards Marcos's. So 45 wins, which means they would have 117 losses. So you go from 41 wins to 45. Not a big jump at all, right? But I think, with the way this team has been playing competitively, they've played competitively a lot in some of these losses that they've had. Recently, they lost a series to Cleveland before the All-Star break, and that was a pretty competitive series for the White Sox. But that is going to do it for our White Sox first half recap video. We will have another video, but this time it will be about the Chicago Cubs, and we'll have our analysis on that. Stay tuned for that. Subscribe for more, and we'll see you guys next one.